Today on Pro Church Daily, we're talking about why you should please not try to make your church's website original.
Well, hey there, and welcome to Pro Church Daily, the show where in 10 minutes or less, you'll get your daily dose of tips and tactics to help your church share the message of Jesus while we navigate the biggest communication shift in the last 500 years. I'm your host, Alex Mills. I'm joined, as always, by the boss man. It's Brady Shearer. And today, we're saying to you, please, don't try and make your church website original.
I think originality in most creative pursuits, especially something like your church's website, is fully and entirely overrated.
Yeah.
It's something that, and I say that from a place of experience,
right?
Not from a place of, on my high horse. That in creative projects, so many, I have become obsessed with this idea of originality.
Yeah.
And in the process, I've overlooked the more important, actually impactful elements of that creative project.
Right.
I think this idea of originality can be a red herring, something that we chase, we think exists, we think is important, but it can cloud our vision for what we're truly trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
When it comes to your website, according to Google, the best websites for users, based on their research, are sites that are simple and familiar. And it's that second term that stood out to me when I was doing the research. Familiar, which is, of course, antithetical to the idea of
Originality.
Those are antonyms.
Yeah.
And it can be a little bit difficult for one as a creative to kind of swallow that idea.
Yeah.
But one thing to keep in mind, especially when it comes to your church's website, is that you are not in competition with other churches.
Of course.
Every year we do this giant list on prochurchtools.com, this big report to the best church websites of insert this year.
Right.
So it'd be 2018 this year when we get that report live. And sometimes I'll see comments on that page saying, man, all of these websites look very similar. And truthfully, that's exactly the case.
Yeah, really.
And that lines up with the research and the findings of Google, is that the best websites follow a simple framework, follow a simple archetype. And your pursuit of originality, at least in the case of your website, not only is it unnecessary, it could be unhelpful and detrimental to your website.
Wow.
When I was first getting started as a church media director, I was like 19 years old. I was still in second year of Bible college studying to be a student pastor. I got hired on as the media director at my church, and I was thrust into video and web design, graphic design, and I wanted everything to be so original and so cool and so unique to our church. And then I remember my pastor, he showed me this web series that forever changed the way that I saw the creative process and originality in particular. It's by this guy named Kirby Ferguson, and the title of the series is Everything is a Remix.
Okay.
And the thesis of this entire series is that nothing is new. Every single thing is a combination, a reworking, a reimagining of pre-existing elements in a particular industry or space. And to claim originality over anything is one, frankly untrue, and second, a little bit arrogant when it's just kind of pushing aside all the previous work that came ahead of you.
Yeah.
We're in this time of the world where the internet finds everything out. Every single song that comes out, someone can find and say, hey,
it sounds like
this sounds a lot like this.
Yeah.
For instance, this happened the other day. I went to go see The Greatest Showman with my wife.
Okay.
And one of the songs in that movie, it's a musical, it's called Never Enough. And the hook of the chorus goes, never, never, do-do-do-do.
Sounds a little familiar.
And I
to
was
me.
like, leaving the theater, I was like, da-na-na-na. And I still don't know what song it is, but I know it's a song.
It reminds me of a Taylor Swift song.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No, I want Pro Church Nation to figure this out because it's still bothering me.
Yeah.
Da-na-na-na. That is definitely a hook in a song.
Right.
I don't think that the Never Enough Greatest Showman composers copied that song. I just don't think there's really anything new.
There's nothing new under the sun.
And here is a number of different examples from a number of different industries to prove this.
Okay.
In manufacturing, the Ford Motor Company founder, Henry Ford, who is the man who made it possible for the average person to own an automobile, not the inventor of the automobile, but he made it possible for everyone to own one, said this: I invented nothing new. I simply assembled the discoveries of other men behind whom were centuries of work. And this is key. He goes on to say, progress happens when all the factors that make for it are ready, and then it is inevitable.
Wow.
Basically, putting together a combination of pre-existing things into something new, but that new thing, it's not so much new as it is a combination and wouldn't have been possible without the other pre-existing elements.
And that there's almost an element of like honor to people who've
Yes.
done the legwork and had an innovation here, and we're talking about cars, innovation here. Henry Ford wouldn't have been able to do what he did if it weren't for the progression of the history of the motor vehicle before then. He just assembled the wins of other people, and it's changed the industry forever. So that's really cool.
Precisely. And not just manufacturing. In film and television, there's an online platform called TV Tropes, and basically the platform, it takes inventory of all the different storytelling conventions, aka tropes, that are used in film and television around the world. Where basically we all need familiar storytelling conventions to fully understand the idea of a story. There are all these building blocks that story is made up of, and TV Tropes documents them all. So for instance, the evil twin would be a TV trope.
Right.
That is in hundreds, if not thousands, of movies, television shows, and it's an accepted trope, an accepted storytelling convention.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain it. When someone says that's his evil twin, you go, oh, and then you understand all the potential implications,
right,
and that's the story that follows.
Yeah.
And there was another book, this is to talk more about storytelling. Storytelling is one of those things where you don't want to mess with the pure of the purest part of storytelling, like an original story.
Right.
Not a thing, really. There was this 2004 book by Christopher Booker that came out. It was called The 7 Basic Plots, and it distills and explains how every single story of all time is one of these 7.
Right.
And really, there's only one that's underneath all 7.
Yeah.
Formulas, pre-existing, nothing's original.
Right.
To quote the Bible, Ecclesiastes 1:9, there is nothing new under the sun.
Right.
The bottom line is this: originality does not exist, at least not in the way that we typically think of it, the way that we understand it. At its best, originality is a combination of previous discoveries, previous inventions, and it's a remix of these pre-existing works fashioned into something new. Doesn't make it any worse or better, but we just have to understand for what it is. Don't pursue originality, especially with your website. We've got the data. Simple and familiar is the best. It's okay if your church's website looks like every other church website.
Yeah,
if it works, because you're not competing as a church in Tallahassee with your brother who's a pastor at a church in Fargo.
Right.
You're competing with the people in your community. You're trying to reach their attention.
Yeah.
You're trying to grasp their attention. Familiarity is the way to do that. Don't pursue originality.
And I used to run into this a lot as a creative, whether I'm, creating something with photo or video or graphic or even written content, that fleeting pursuit, like you mentioned, of something new, of something original. And it was always, it always caused me to be frustrated in my work, trying to create something new. And then I see something online. It's like, oh, somebody's done that before. And when you learn to accept that I don't have to pursue originality because it's not really a thing, and I can fall in line and I can do something similar to what someone's done before, and I can take this win from here and this win from here and put it together and make something, for myself or for my church or whatever. There's so much like freedom and liberty in that, to be able to create something good.
We talked about this in the most recent episode of Pro Church Daily. That would be episode number 39. We talked about the core duties of a website.
Yeah.
And one of them was not originality.
Right.
Think about what you're trying to accomplish with your website. Is being original the goal? No. The 3 duties of a church's website are the goal. And speaking of copying pre-existing frameworks, we have a free download for you. ProChurchTools.com/nucleus is where to access this. It's 7 proven page templates for your church's website. And I hope that every single church in Pro Church Nation takes advantage of these. And it's okay if you have them the same as another church across the city, across the country, across the world. Because there are so many people to reach, we need to use proven frameworks that are simple and familiar and work. ProChurchTools.com/nucleus is the place to get that download. Thanks for watching today's episode of Pro Church Daily. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey, thanks for watching today's episode of Pro Church Daily. Make sure you turn on notifications for this channel so you never miss another video, and subscribe as well.
And if you like this video, it'd mean the world to us if you give it a thumbs up.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Well, hey there, and welcome to Pro Church Daily, the show where in 10 minutes or less you'll get your daily dose. I was not expecting that one.